Okay,
Yay,
we should be live. Okay. All right. So here we go. Our first real living hangout on air. Nice. Okay.
Okay, so can I email you that at the end of the meeting, Anthony?
Absolutely. Whatever's easiest for you.
Okay. So just as I was saying before, I just copied and pasted the list of all the big HR issues into the chat box so everyone can see it.
Okay.
If any of you guys are able to come up with anything like above and beyond that, then you're welcome to add that to the list. But basically the assignment is just to take the 3 issues that I guess we feel like are the biggest issues and just write a paragraph detailing those issues, and then from there we have to create 4 different solutions to each of those issues, and then that's pretty much the body of our paper. So I don't know if anyone has any suggestions as far as how to split all of that up evenly, or if everyone wants to do kind of everything just as a rough draft and then someone will compile it, or I don't know who has suggestions on that.
Well, if we could narrow it down, because we had to come up with 3 different problems, and one of the main things that I saw is there's no protocol, there's no laws. They have no idea what the laws are, and that it's completely illegal to hire and fire people the way that they're doing that. So that would be one issue that has to be resolved. Policies have to be established according to the law. And like you said, the sexual harassment goes into that. There's this huge class division too. Nobody knows what each other is doing or has any kind of value for each other's work. So you have this class separation, and then there's an actual dysfunction in the production because you've got too many chiefs and not enough Indians, too many leaders, not enough followers, kind of a thing going on. And those are like the main things that I saw.
Yeah, there's no real hat divisions between the groups that need to have them, and the biggest thing that I saw is there's no standardized practice developed. But when it comes to HR issues, the things that really hit me were the sexual harassment, were the hiring practices and the firing practices, and then the overtime, because what they're doing is ridiculously illegal, and so. While the other things are, I think, caused by a lot of that, I think those are probably the 4 that are biggest in my mind.
So if there's 4 problems, we're supposed to come up for each one. If everyone came up with 3 problems, we'd have enough, right? Because there's 4 people.
We've got 5.
Oh, we've got 5.
Yeah.
We only need to pick 3. Whoever's going to do the paper. We only need 3 problems, and then
I thought
to have 4 answers.
I thought that was 3 a week, Kevin. I thought that was 3 for each of the 4 sections. Am I wrong?
Oh.
There's 3 issues from the whole list that we come up with, and then of those 3 issues, 4 solutions to those issues is what we have to come up with. So for a total of like 12 solutions.
So 12 solutions total. Okay.
But for the paper, we only need to pick 3 problems. So we should, as a group, decide which 3 we're going to pick, and then, of course, everybody come up with their own answers, and let's get together with that. That way we aren't working on 20 different problems. If everybody picks the different 3, we just need to select the 3 that we want to work on.
I think that's the best idea also.
That sounds ideal, yeah.
So what I think we could do, just where I think a couple of us have, like there's a couple of issues that can be grouped together, but then you can expound on them a bit more. So like we said, no protocols, they're disobeying the law. There's no standardized practices for like hiring and firing or like sexual harassment. So we could kind of group like no protocols as all of that, and then that way more people can be on that problem, just because there's 5 of us and only 3 problems.
So do we want to go broadly into things? or do we want to be a little bit more specific with how we're
That's
managing
what I
it?
was just thinking. I think I personally would have it more specific. I can see what you're saying, Lauren, but to conglomerate sexual harassment along with hiring and firing, that's two big broad categories. I think it would be better to be more case specific.
Okay.
I just perused through it. I did not really read it. But I know a couple of things one thing that jumped out at me was safety. So if we were to take safety as one of the things, and then we could each come up with 4 different things if we were going to use safety as one of the topics. I don't know if we're supposed to pick in general or if we're supposed to use from the lessons that we're learning, like appraisals. I don't think appraisals was part of it though. I'm not sure where we're supposed to come up with the topics, if they're supposed to be based on what we're learning each week, or if we're just supposed to pick our 3 areas of concern.
I think the solutions are supposed to come from what we're learning each week, but the problems that we're seeing, I think we're just supposed to pick those out, and then we apply from what we're learning the solutions that we see available for those.
Yeah.
And so this week we covered feedback, criticism, well, not criticism, but the reviews. So they were talking about the reviews and how the reviewee can look at it and how management can look at it. And so this would be kind of a communication thing. And we would have to actually address some of these problems with the management and with the workers. So it could be, we could totally apply it, but it's just not number 1 on my priority list of things to handle first, but it is the lesson for the week.
If I was going to pick 3, and I know that this kind of it makes it a little bit more general in certain areas, but I think what it does is catalog things really well. And number 1 is communication, okay? Because communicating things around the office is horrible, and that a lot of these little problems stem from that. Number 2 is standardized best practices. Now that can go with hiring, firing. This is how we hire. This is how we fire. This is what we do. It also adds into that, safety. What's our protocol for safety? What's our goals and standard operating procedures for the various tasks that are being done? Taking, like it said in the paper, the people that are doing the best job at certain things, and then applying that as the standardized best procedures or best practices to follow. Okay? And then after that, there's the legal concerns. And so that's how I tend to group those things, and the legal concerns being things like the sexual harassment, like the overtime pay issue, and those kind of things. And I think with those kind of headings, we can address all of these problems in a more diverse fashion.
So if I'm understanding correctly from what you're reading, they have no policies whatsoever written. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you think we should leave it more general instead of break down a specific, instead of breaking down a specific on that?
For a couple of different reasons, and I think that we can take those headings and create a paper that specifically identifies issues to be addressed under those headings, and it would be easier for us to walk a little bit broader line to create this massive paper that we have to have at the end of class. It gives us a little bit more flexibility.
Is this same doohickey going to be the one that we use through the whole class, or will there be a different one each 3 weeks?
I'm wondering if there's going to be a different one each 3 weeks. That's why we've got 4 of them to do. And I think it'll all be part of the same group, but I don't know. Because doohickeys
I think it changes based on what we're studying each week. So like it's HR this for the next couple weeks, and then once we move to something else, I think that's when it's going to change. But kind of what you were saying about not wanting to go so broadly, Kevin, I think that like kind of what Anthony's saying, like it's a 5,000 word paper, and there's so many issues that if we want to be able to kind of touch on like the fact that there's so many, we have to be not like super broad, but just a little bit more broad than just saying one whole issue at a time.
Okay.
So I think I would agree with what Anthony said.
I agree.
I do
So should
also
we-
now. I was thinking more specific, but I'm agreeing with what Anthony's saying also. We could almost write the booklet, per se, for their practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. So should we have number 1 be kind of standardized practices?
Okay, yeah, getting that together, will give us a path into lines of communication and legal issues as well. We can tie all of that together if we start with standardized best practices.
So what are we going to encompass under that? Just hiring and firing, and then kind of like employee reviews, benefits, things like that?
Not even the benefits, because in some ways, while the benefits are important to people because people need benefits, it's not necessarily an HR issue. It's a management decision for what they want to do with benefits and that kind of thing, and I think it's something that we can bring up, but I don't see it necessarily as an HR issue. What I see as the issue is kind of like you said, hiring and firing, documentation of hazards. I think Debbie, you brought that up, and then standardization of training, standardization of expectation among the employees, standardization of the review process that they're doing. All of those kind of things can be under that heading.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, literally best practices for the employee-employer work environment at that point.
Okay, and then does anyone have suggestions for the second issue that we should talk about? Debbie, did you have one that you thought you really wanted to do, or?
Well, I'm kind of thinking, sexual harassment to me is always a biggie in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that one myself.
I agree. Do we want to put that kind of under a heading of legal issues within the office that need to be addressed? Because it's definitely that. I don't know if we want to lump it with other things, though.
That's true. It could probably fall under legal concerns, yes.
And we could put it there with the no overtime part, with the issues in firing regulations, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay.
What about education though? Like education on communication, like when they do those team building exercises, things like that. Work on the psychology of it, and actually do exercises with the employees, or teach them something about communication, and like what we read in the book about reviews and inspiring, and like an open communication to find out what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What do you do? What do you do? What do you think he does? What do you think she does? So they can maybe, build a relationship, some sort of something.
And I totally agree with that. It's why I think that third grouping should be the communication block. And just like what you said, Shauna, and maybe you're the person to kind of look at that, since it's a little bit your idea there, to go ahead and say, these are the concerns that we see in there for, the breakdown of communication between management and employees, and maybe these are some ways that we can get that to work.
Okay.
Maybe standardized setting of this is how we want to make the review process work. This is how we want the communication to be between management and employees. Let the employees have a little bit of space. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, be able to bridge that gap maybe, and have an open door policy.
Right. So I can do that. I can work on the relationship aspect, communication.
Okay.
What do you guys think about like the fact that management is stagnant? Like there's a really low management turnover, but a really high employee turnover, and management isn't hired internally. Like, what would of those three do you think that would fall under any of those?
I think that would probably start under best practices myself, because when it comes to how you hire and fire, who you hire and fire, those things should be established, yes, through management, but they should incorporate the best ideas for the company. You should have a standard way to hire. Hiring odds and ends should be an exception, not a rule. And so I think that kind of falls under best practices. Is that something that you're interested in looking into, Lauren?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So far we have Shauna is wanting to look into communication. I've been kind of taking notes, and so for the third issue, I've got communication and then employer-employee relationship, and then I can email this to you guys when I've typed it up, probably in the morning. But we've got Shauna on that, and then I'll go under the standardized practices, and then who has a preference for where?
Okay.
I don't mind being on that team.
Which team?
The standardized. Oh no, I'd rather be on the legal concerns.
I was going to say, do you want to do that? Okay. So Debbie will put you on the legal concerns portion of things, and then I can work maybe with Lauren on the best practices. And Lauren, it sounds like you're interested in the hiring, firing thing. I can look into the best practices for policy and procedure within the office.
Okay.
Do you have an itch to look into anything in particular, Kevin?
I'm just reading it. It's a nightmare.
Like I said, when I looked at that, I'm like, hey, I used to work there. Oddly enough.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds like interesting reading. I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's worthwhile to take a look at. It's if you want a horror story in HR.
This one case looks like it can take us the entire semester to work on. That's why I wonder if it's going to be the same one or if we'll get a new one in the next 3 weeks. There is so much wrong. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you and I are kind of thinking the same boat there, Kevin. I don't know.
I'm not positive, but in the first weekly meeting with Brother Bohini, he was saying something to the effect that no matter what we did and on our cases, there was never a right or a wrong. We were all, it's just supposed to be a thing of input, was my understanding. Maybe I'm incorrect in that, but
I think when it comes to that, yeah, because everybody's going to have slightly different opinions.
Right.
And I think when it comes to the paper, it'll be judged that way. But I do think that we need solid backing behind the reasons for what we need to do.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
or
yeah,
what we feel we need to do.
Yeah, I agree there.
Okay. So do we all have assignments going forward with what we want to do before we meet again next week?
I don't.
I don't have Kevin down.
That's right, Kevin. What are we doing with you, Kevin?
Oh my gosh.
I'd love to have you up in legal concerns.
I gotta run out front. I'll be right back.
Okay, Shauna.
Sorry,
You're good, Shauna.
You're gonna go with Debbie for the legal side of things?
Sure.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you sound really enthused.
Maybe you can split a little bit of time between the legal side of things and the communication side of things. Maybe that's give you a little bit of choice there.
Because Shauna's by herself too.
Yeah.
So so legal is one issue, communications is the other issue. What's the third issue?
Lack of best practices or standardized best practices.
Policy and procedure, yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to take those three and everybody. Well, we're not going to everybody come up with four. We're going to I'm going to work on four that have to do with legal and or. What was the other thing you said? I'm sorry.
So probably you and so where you're working on like legal issues and like communication between like Debbie and Shauna, between the three of you, you'll come up with 4 issues for each of those. And so it depends on how exactly you want to split that up. So like where Anthony and I are doing like the standardized practices, we'll probably each come up with 2 issues pertaining to the section that we're going to do relating to that. Does that make sense?
Well, no, we're not picking more issues. We're coming up with our solutions, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that's definitely something that we can look into for that. And what we may want to do this week, since we do have a couple of weeks before, this is due in week 5. So what are we, week 3? We're starting week 3 now. So we've got 2 more weeks in between. Maybe this is brainstorm week, and we come back next week with ideas of what we think is going to be the best parts to bring out, and then use those to build the foundation of the paper we want to write.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. So what else do we need to do this evening?
That's all that I prepared. I saw that you guys had been chatting about the Army quiz.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't go that far. I just went all the way. I went about halfway down this week's lesson, and then I just prepared this case. So I don't know if you guys want to discuss that. I haven't done that though.
Okay.
Sounds like a no.
I think if we tried to discuss that now, I think Kevin, you've read part of that at least, right?
Of the doohickey?
No, the Army case.
Yeah, I finished that.
Okay. And I've done part of that, but I haven't completed it yet.
And I have not even started it, as I said. So.
Well, there was. There is a.
The varsity and JV rowing teams, right?
Yeah, there's actually some questions that are.
Those things.
I must have looked at the wrong thing.
Lauren, you are the leader. Did you read the assignment for the group leader or for the discussion leader?
No, I didn't see that on there.
Okay.
Is it just like in the table of contents?
Under lesson 3, it's lesson 3.08. There's lesson 3.07, which is prep for all students, and it has some questions about the problem. Why does the varsity team move to the JV team? Why should coach be done earlier to resolve the problem? What point did he move differently? No, there's 4 questions on lesson 3, part 7, and then lesson 3, part 8 is the leader.
Wow, I completely missed that.
So are these things, Kevin, that are due for lesson 3 by our group? This is above and beyond our doohickey, correct? That you're discussing right now?
But
Okay.
before tonight, because the quiz is supposed to be done before we should have had the quiz for the Army crew team. We should have that done. And then there is 4 questions that everybody was supposed to peruse over, and then the leader is supposed to write a paper.
Now, I'm seeing the Army quiz is not due until May 9th, which is not Wednesday. Everything for Wednesday should have been just the performance appraisals.
But the quiz that we're supposed to cover before we have our meeting is the one that we're going to have our meeting on. That's due by May 9th, but that's what our discussion is on.
Because it says in the beginning that it's all about the performance appraisals and all that has to be done by Wednesday.
That has to be done by Wednesday. That has to be done by tomorrow. But this call, what we're supposed to talk about on our thing is we're supposed to talk about this, the Army crew team case.
Oh. Okay,
that's correct, and that's why
in that little email I sent out said maybe we should shoot for a day later in the week, because that means we've got to cram everything in by Wednesday.
On Tuesday, yeah.
Because this whole last part of the lesson, the Army crew team, is not due to the 9th. It's supposed to be done before we have this call.
Okay, I see.
Well, I will honestly say that doesn't make too much sense to me when it's not even due for another 6 days. But I agree with you. If that's the placement that our professors got it in there, that's what we've got to do. However, it does sound like, at least from the comments that I'm hearing, we're not ready as a group to discuss that. And so so maybe we add a little bit at the beginning of our next session, kind of go over that and whatever else we need to pick up from the coming lesson as well. Does that sound appropriate?
I can do that.
Well,
yeah, that sounds good to me too.
The leader,
we might end up having to move it. You know, I know we chatted about moving our meetings to Friday too. So if that was good with everybody, but
Kevin, what were you saying?
The leader has to have a paper done from our discussion by the 9th. So,
okay.
So leaders going to kind of be on their own for this week. So Lauren, so we weren't really ready.
Okay. So how about this, at least at this point?
Be on their own for this week. So Lauren, so we weren't really ready.
Okay. So how about this, at least at this point?
On their own.
Is anyone else hearing that feedback?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
That's really weird.
It's like we have another meeting going on in the background.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Let's try this. Did I hear Lauren? Are you the leader for this week?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about this? Everybody, when you complete the information for the Army, did I hear Lauren? Are you the leader for this week? Quiz or test or whatever that happens to be, or test case. Yeah, that thing. When you complete your work on that, send your thoughts in to Lauren, and that way we'll have at least some information for her to work with for that paper.
That would be a good idea. What time or what date and time would you like that by, Lauren, at the latest, that it's convenient for you?
You have to have the assignment turned in by Sunday night.
Do you want us to get it to you as early as we can, before, let's say before Friday, so you have weekend, and then you can email us back things, you know, a sample, and then we can discuss that by email? Before, let's say before Friday, so you have weekend, and then you can email us back things, you know, a sample, and then we can discuss that by email.
If you're talking to me, then yeah, that's fine. Is everyone else hearing the repeat of everything?
Yeah. It's really
Oh my
bad.
goodness, it's really bad. Okay, I
Everybody
think
check
maybe.
and make sure you closed out the other Hangout. Make sure that you're only on one Hangout. That could be where the feedback's coming.
My other one's closed.
Yeah, I closed out all my browsers except this one, so.
Okay.
That's really funny.
I closed out all my browsers except this one, so.
Okay.
I think we're good now. Okay. Yes. If everyone could, I'm really sorry that I didn't see kind of what. I think we're good now. Okay. Yeah.
This is. It's like a round. We're talking in a round, and we're not even talking in a round. That's really.
It is, yeah. It's really strange. Okay, so
Okay.
we'll just get everything to you by Friday evening. Is that good, Lauren? Does that give you enough time to send us feedback and you to complete the project by Monday? Is that good for you?
Or should we look at Thursday evening?
Yeah. I can see the chat, Lauren.
She's giving us a thumbs up.
I do not know how to do the chat.
You just type into it. Use the enter chat message link on the bottom and just type in there. And looks like Lauren's saying Thursday is going to be better for her.
Okay. Okay. I see that Thursday. I'm not seeing where you're talking about, Anthony.
All the way at the
Chat
bottom of
thing.
that column on the right-hand side.
Where my time and date are?
On the left-hand side of your screen, up in the top right,
left.
you've got a little blue icon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you,
Click
Kevin.
that.
I see. I see now. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So at this point, how are we looking? Should we go ahead and close?
I think I'm good whenever you guys are. If you can all just get your stuff to me by Thursday.
So at this point, and maybe next week we look at Thursday instead of Tuesday.
Thursday works, but I could do Friday better.
Seriously? Pictures and text phone vote as text vote. I just had a sign like that in front of me. It says that I don't know exactly what it says. It says if you want to text this number.
She was able to make a purchase for $8,000.
Alice Glover.